Hi, Douglas. How are you?
Hi, good to meet you.
You too. I wasn't sure what to expect, if you'd have the full beard or if you lived a more modern looking life these days.
Yeah, no, it's a relief to be out of the fat suit and out of the beard and out of everything. I'm about to go to South Africa to shoot, so I'm totally in a different mode. And yes, Velementov is not with me this week, thank God.
It's a very physical performance, and I'm so impressed with how you manage this level of being constantly drunk, but still able to communicate somehow clearly. How do you do that?
It's just years of research, really. And no, well, I've become very, very interested in acting drunkenness. I think I might do a sort of workshop on it. But clearly there are endless levels to it. And sometimes on set, I'll say, I think this is it. I think this is the most drunk he's ever been. Like he's hallucinating now. And then at other times, I'm like, no, he's never sober, so and unfortunately the people who really, really do drink that I know often are very, very high functioning, and you have no idea that they're drunk that early in the morning, sort of thing. But I think he is what they call self-medicating the pain and the guilt and the loneliness he feels.
Did you base the performance on any, whether it's public figures or people from history?
No, I didn't. I think history is always an excuse to be able to talk about today, really. I mean, whether it's about Trump or vaccination or women's rights, whatever it is. I come from a long tradition of theater where you have Shakespeare or Chekhov, and really the only reason to do it can't be a museum piece. It has to have some relevance, and I think it's an excuse to sort of be able to talk more openly about issues that affect us right now. Really, I think there's a tremendous amount to learn from history. So really, it's a sort of launch pad to be able to create something.
It's interesting because I don't see Velementov as a strict, conservative in some ways. He wants to do things the way they've been done because that makes sense to him. But when he sees someone who presents something and it doesn't seem like it'll be all that difficult, or he can kill a lot of people in the process, I think he sees the appeal of that. How do you grapple with that sort of contradiction in him?
Well, I think he's essentially a soldier. So I don't think he's mixed entirely with men since he was very, very young. I think he's been in the trenches and gore and blood and thunder since he was a boy, and has only screamed and shouted and seen horror, and has risen to the point where he is then responsible for all those young lives. And I think that's what keeps him awake at night. So while he is a military man and very proud of his military tactical prowess, which is borderline, I think the drinking is that every time he closes his eyes, that's all he sees is these battles. So there's an element of him that is utterly brutalized, like the sort of Russia that we're describing in the piece, and then that's civilized by the light and the beauty of Catherine. But he's also a very moral, decent person, I think. I mean, he's lustful and violent, it's true, but I think he's as tough as they come. But I think he does have a soft center.
And I think he has that for Peter, especially, which is very interesting to see how he's, is part of the coup, but he also remembers him as a boy, and he can't quite separate those two things.
It's so interesting. I mean, absolutely right. I mean, he's bullied him. Peter's just bullied Velementov his entire life and is able to. And of course, it's also that structure of society, that period where that could happen. And I think, he longs to slap him. But I think, he's also seen this young person be very, very frightened and be bullied himself and be incapable and lost. And, so I think he has a fatherly ability to be able to help him. Yeah, no doubt about it. And sit and be his dad every now and then,
He also has a sweet relationship with Catherine that we saw in that one scene where, she realized that he was sick and he made a lewd comment, and she was somehow touched by that, which I think was very funny because you wouldn't expect that in that kind of moment, I think, on any other show or any other kind of character.
No, there's a tremendous fine balance between his sort of terrifying patriarchal lust, for this young, beautiful, sensuous woman, but also a sort of fatherly. It's a confusion in him. I think he's never been around women, doesn't know how to respond to women, and they civilize him and tenderize him, really. Just the smell of them and the look of them and the skin. And it's just something that it breaks his heart, really. So I think he doesn't really know how to behave or who he is. And I think he learns that through her about himself as the 3 series have gone on, really. I'm not sure in series 1 he could have said that. He would have just tried to, jump on her. But he has grown, I suppose, to some degree.
And his pursuit of Agnes isn't quite as predatory or whatever as it could be. I think it's interesting because she also is trying to lead him on, but then is sort of intrigued somehow by him, which is just, it's fun to watch that whole thing.
I think he genuinely does fall in love about every 3 minutes with any woman that passes him. It just, as I say, softens him, I think, and he's sort of mystified by the whole gentleness of it and the potential for that world, which is so lovely and comforting. And but I think he genuinely, as soon as she shows an interest in him, he thinks, oh my goodness, yeah, he's madly in love with her. And of course he's being used, as he's a clown, really. He's essentially a clown, and like all clowns, is essentially sad.
The introduction also of Petrov and his sort of prominence in, as his potential replacement, that didn't feel as dangerous as it could have been, and then they're sort of just laughing at each other, in the final appearance they make. What was it like working with Jacob, and crafting that relationship?
Well, because Jacob is immensely handsome and younger and thinner and better at everything than me, so there was sort of no acting required. But yeah, the thing I liked most was that he was in my uniform, because unlike any other character in the piece, I never changed costume. I'm never out of that green and red uniform. I'm just in it the whole time, whatever scene I'm playing. And so it was quite strange to have someone turn up on set in a sort of more handsome version of that uniform. And we had good fun together. I think there's a way to go in all that sort of jealousy and the difference between those two. But certainly, I think I can give him a good run for his money.
At this point, season 3 is over. There's no word of a season 4. It could be the end. It also could not be the end. Would you be interested in seeing what could happen with Velementov, and what ideas do you have for what would be next for him?
Yeah, I really, it's based on, I absolutely love working with Elle, and I loved, the company. It's a fabulous, I like the writing, and I come from a sort of history of theatre. So the writing is very intelligent and unusual and unpredictable, and there are things to play within it. I think we'll know, they don't really tend to make those decisions until the thing is aired. Fully. I know it's aired in America, but I think I would love to do it again, absolutely, and I'd love to explore him. I'd love to get him on a treadmill and get him fit and see where he could go. No, I think there's all sorts of possibilities for him in terms of his heart and what he does, other than, for the first time in this series, he doesn't wear his uniform towards the end, when he's stripped of his job for a minute. But so there are ways to go with him.
Is there anyone from the cast that you feel like you haven't really gotten to work with that you would love to share scenes with in a season 4?
Yeah, Guillem and I almost never act together. We had a couple of scenes this time. Phoebe and I, we hardly ever see each other. I very rarely work with, I'm often on my own. I think Adam and I very rarely, so it used to be Sasha, myself, Elle, I suppose Phoebe a little bit more. But I'm sort of in my own little box. So I think there's joy to be. I love working with Freddie Fox. And Freddie and I became sort of Laurel and Hardy, if you know what I mean. Do you know Laurel and Hardy from I mean, because he's sort of skinny and sort of simple, and I was sort of big and robust, and we became this sort of double act, which was great fun. So I'd love to pursue that a bit more.
Have you received any surprising reactions from fans or family members or friends to Velementov and the show in general?
I suppose generally when I'm recognized for Velementov, I tend to think, oh my God, I must be really overweight and unfit and, and looking bad. Because I sort of don't see myself like that. So it's always a bit of a shock when people go, hey, Velementov in the street. And I think, oh God, I must be walking around, But I think, no, it's an interesting piece. There's no doubt about it. There's a sort of level of anarchy in it that is, it's not everyone's taste. It's a very, very specific, different tone that it has. And I enjoy that about it. I think it's something unusual on television, and we're all watching the same things all night long. So I think there's something in it that's intelligent and unusual and a little bit deeper than some of the things.
Can you share what it is you're working on now and where else we can expect you in the future?
I think I can. You never know with these movies. I've just done a movie called We Live in Time with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield playing Andrew Garfield's father, which was just delightful. It's John Crowley as the director, who's directed a film called Brooklyn. And so that was in England. Just finished that, and now I'm going to South Africa for 3 months to shoot with Viola Davis, a big, funny film. But I don't know how much more I'm allowed to say about that because we start that in 2 weeks' time, and they have their own, publicity to get. But I'm sure you can say that much. But anyway, yeah. So, and I've also written a musical which was on during the last season of The Great, incredibly, which I'm now delivering another draft, and that's going to go on tour in summer next year. So that's my main, that's enough to be worrying about.
Wonderful. Well, good luck with all those projects, and let's hear soon about season 4 of The Great.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. All right. Lovely.
Thank you, Douglas. Nice to meet you.
You too. All the best.